Robert Plank Show, episode 250 Strictly Marketing. Debug the system, follow up, and outsource with Kerry Heaps.
Okay, great.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the program. Our guest today is Kerry Heaps, and she's the founder and publisher of Strictly Marketing Magazine, and she's also the host of Strictly Marketing Talk Radio. So, Kerry, how are things today?
Everything is wonderful today, Robert. I'm so honored to be on the show with you and just excited to share some information with all your listeners.
Awesome. Well, I am excited as well to hear all about you and what you're all about. So, Strictly Marketing Magazine, Strictly Marketing Talk Radio. So, can you tell us what you do and what makes you stand out?
Absolutely. Well, the marketing company that I have, we produce a magazine called Strictly Marketing Magazine, and we also have a talk radio program, which has been on hiatus for a little bit, and we're going to be ramping back up pretty quickly for 2017. And we cover marketing topics, anything about marketing your business, sales, social media, public relations, media coverage, anything at all to do with marketing your business. We cover it in the magazine and also on the talk radio program. We've had the magazine for about 2 years now, and I actually started my business. June will be 12 years. We're going to be celebrating a 12-year anniversary in June. And I actually started to believe it or not, get back into image consulting. I was a model, former model, when I was very young. And I actually started my business to do image consulting and get back into the modeling industry. And as fate would have it, they had a different plan for me. And getting into it, I started doing networking events, and I felt that I had a really good knack for putting people together. And after a while, people started to come to me and ask me to help them with their sales and their marketing to help improve that. And I started working with companies one on one. And here we are 12 years later.
Awesome. And so with all that, I mean, so you do all this marketing stuff and different topics, and you bring people together. But with all that, I mean, what's your strength, and how do you stand out compared to everyone else who talks about all these same topics?
Absolutely. I think what makes us stand out, me specifically, is the amount of experience that I've had because over the years and prior to starting my own business, I worked in a variety of industries. I worked in the legal field, the construction industry, the insurance industry, the financial planning industry. I just had a slew of jobs. Nothing ever felt like it was a good fit. I had a great jobs, mind you. Most people would think twice before leaving them. But I just always had that entrepreneurial mindset and always wanted to go out on my own. But I feel where I really have a good strength is that because I've worked in so many industries, when I do have a client that comes to me, 9 times out of 10, I have some type of experience working in that field, whether it's the staffing industry or construction industry. I'm actually able to assimilate into what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish. And I have more of a hands-on type experience that can really be of benefit to them. So I feel that is my strength. And, what I felt was so many years of running around going, what's wrong with me? Why am I not, like everybody else? Why can't I just stay in this one spot? And it's really been able to help me to help all of my clients and the people who come to us for marketing assistance.
Awesome. So it sounds like when you have these clients and they're in these different sort of industries, there isn't that sort of communication gap where you have to learn about, what their business is all about. You can say, well, I've already been there. I know how to market this. I know how to sell this type of stuff.
Exactly. We also work with companies one on one. It's not a good fit for everyone, but we do work with a lot of companies business to business. And for example, we have a staffing agency that we've recently brought on board to work with. And as luck would have it, I used to do recruiting. I worked a split desk, which those of you who are in the industry understand what that means, where you're actually recruiting, you're filling the job postings that you brought in. So you're doing the sales aspect of it, you're bringing in those job orders, and then you're doing the recruiting end of it, where you're actually filling those particular job orders as well with the candidates. So they were very impressed with the fact that I knew what a split desk was, that, I knew what it took to go out there and get job orders and the magic of follow-up in that industry and how long it can take to get someone's business. Because let's face it, you can't just create a position, an internal position for someone to fill. You have to wait till that need is there. So follow up is key in that industry. So yes, it has helped tremendously. I didn't see it years ago, but here it is now, 12 years later. I'm like, okay, I see why all of that different experience that I had, how it's helping me and helping my clients as well.
Awesome. And I think that, I can relate to that. And I think that a lot of people listening can relate to that because, like, throughout all of our lives, we don't all just have just one job. We don't all just have just one business. And it makes me think back to, different jobs that I have had or different, like college classes and things where at the time I thought, what the heck does this have to do with, being like a computer programmer or an internet marketer? But then things always seem to sort of come back later on. I mean, does that make sense? Like, have you noticed that where like maybe like some job you had like 10 years ago, there was some either some skill or some sort of like marketing technique used way back then that in the present day you're able to sort of update and reuse?
Absolutely, and not just with the marketing aspect of things. I worked as a legal assistant for a couple of years, and having your own business, you really have to learn how to wear a lot of different hats. And if you're not, uh, realizing that, I mean, some people go into business thinking, okay, well, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to be an accountant and I have experience in that. But something might come up on the legal side or something might come up on the marketing side that you are going to have to work on. You're going to have to do that because you have to promote yourself when you're a business owner. Myself personally, one of the things that really stands out from working as a legal assistant, working on different documents for starting a business and different things that would come up with the state that I would most people would be like, oh my gosh, what do I do? But I knew exactly what to do because I had done paperwork like that before. So it wasn't a big deal. So there are lots of things, accounting wise, maybe, doing bookkeeping that, again, things that you have to do that I learned years ago that I'm still using today. So definitely any experience that you have is going to help you on that entrepreneurial journey.
And so, sort of along those lines, I mean, what are your thoughts on like, I don't know, I'm not even really sure how to ask this, but like if there's some sort of roadblock in your business, like say it's like accounting, for example, how do you know when it's time for you yourself to go ahead and do something versus when is it time to go and hire a specialist and like how do you know if you're wearing too many hats and how do you know if you're being ADD as opposed to being hands-on? Like how do you sort of reconcile all that?
That is a great question, Robert, and I'm probably not the best person to answer it because I am such a control freak. I like to always have some type of hands-on in my business, even if someone else is doing something. I think it's smart as a business owner to always make sure that you are at least overseeing that or you're getting some type of update. Never pull yourself out completely from anything. I think, even if you bring someone on board to do a specific job, you really need to make sure you're aware of what's going on. Let them have enough leeway to do their job, but always remember at the end of the day, you're the business owner. You will be the one held responsible if things go to hell. I mean, I hate to use that expression, but if when the chips fall, you will be the one who is held responsible. And everybody has had experience in that, myself included. Where you've hired sales reps or you've hired people that have made promises that you didn't know about that you're going to now have to deliver on, and it's a bad spot to be in. So always make sure you have a little bit of control. I would say, even for accounting, I mean, you definitely don't want to be signing blank checks. You always want to make sure that you have a hand in the game, so to speak, but you have to do it to where you're letting go enough. And I wish I had a good formula for that because I think it's hard as a business owner to let go because it's your baby. And having someone else come in and have some type of control over that is very hard. It's a growing pain for you as a person and also as a business owner. And you just have to learn to kind of let go of that as much as you can. I would suggest, maybe starting someone out part-time if you can do that. See how it goes. See where your boundaries are. See where you're having trouble because at least that way if the person's part-time, it's not so much as having a full-time employee, where if you do let them go, you're dealing with a whole nother can of worms. You might have to pay unemployment or, that person is going to want different references or things that you're not ready to provide yet. They may go to work for a competitor. So maybe starting out part time, take small steps. I think would be a good way to start, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and so that way you don't just have this huge like learning curve to go through. You don't have this huge period of growing pains. You can just kind of like ease yourself into it. And so when when you deal with these companies that you're helping out and things like that, like is there like a common like set of things that they all need, or a common set of all things they're all missing, like some kind of low hanging fruit, or is it different with every client that you have?
I find with our marketing service, because again, it is kind of a niche market, it's not a good fit for everyone. And we don't take everyone on as a client either because it does have to be a good fit for what we do. For example, it's, more or less it's a service where we're working with their sales department, and it could be regionally, it could be locally. But they are all having the same problem pretty much. They need to get in front of more people. They need to get in front of more companies, I should say, get more sales, close more sales. So we're working pretty closely. We do kind of have more or less a formula that we use to work with them. I find that they are in specific industries, although we've had other people come in with industries that we've never really uh, had a huge demand for, of different people. Like we typically work with the insurance industry, staffing industry, tech industry, and also the financial planning, 401k management industry. We find those are our four core groups that we work with. And it's not to say that we haven't had other industries that have come forward and said, hey, can you work with us? And either it's a good fit or it isn't. But we like to be honest with people and say, look, we're not the best fit for you. Here's some recommendations that we have, and this is what we think you should do, or recommend them to a different company. Because one thing that I have learned in my 12 years is you never want to take on a company and promising things that you just can't deliver. Sometimes trying to figure it out along the way, if you don't have that expertise, you're not doing yourself any good, and you're certainly not doing the client any good either.
Makes a lot of sense, and so so that was like a bunch of cool stuff to take in, and so I think what would really help me and our listeners to sort of really get a handle on what you do is, can you walk us through like a case study or some kind of client you dealt with where they came to you and they said, maybe we don't know what we want, or we're missing these things, and then you said, here's the answer, and then you implemented it. Can you kind of walk us through like that sort of before and after of you helping some of these businesses?
Absolutely. We have one client that we have worked with off and on for a couple of years, and they are in the insurance industry. And they basically, when they first came to us, they said, look, we really want to it was a regional type company. So we were dealing with several different sales reps in several different states. And they said we really need to get them in front of more businesses to market our product, to get in and get them to sign up. And I said, okay, great. So we came up with a plan where we actually did a telemarketing campaign to help them get more appointments set for their sales reps, which was going really good. But then we got to a point where their closing ratio wasn't where it needed to be. So I had a meeting with one of the regional sales managers, and I said, well, what exactly is going on? Because typically our job was to get them in front of the decision maker. At that point, it's up to them. You have to sell yourself. At some point as a salesperson, you've got to sell yourself, you've got to close it, you've got to, walk away with a deal. So what we were finding is that they were getting in front of them, but they were really not doing very good with the follow-up portion of it, number one, because sometimes when you're working with business to business, the closing time can be anywhere, depending upon the products you sell. It could be a month, and it could be up to 2 years, depending upon what you're trying to do. With this particular company, it would be anywhere from 4 to 6 months was their closing time frame. So the follow-up really wasn't there. And then we were also kind of finding that there just didn't seem to be, when they did follow up, not a whole lot of excitement, not a whole lot of interest. So what we did is we kind of revamped everything and said, you know what, here's a great idea. Why don't we go in, and instead of we'll do a meeting, we'll set up the meeting, but why don't you change it where after that meeting, the next step is for them to do, we come in, have your company come in and do like a lunch and learn event where you provide, pizza, something inexpensive for the company where you provide pizza. And it's a 45-minute talk. It could be in the lunchroom, it could be, in their conference room where the employees can actually come in, can learn about, if an accident happens, or, what do you do if a spouse gets sick, or what do you do if you get cancer and you can't work, on the disability side of things, what are your options? And because they would do presentations on that. And I said, that way you can do something like that. You can do kind of a giveaway, something to make it fun. And I even created this is above and beyond what we would normally do, but we created the flyers for them, to say, here, they can hang it up in their lunchroom, or they can distribute it to all the employees to let them know that you're going to be there on that day, that it's a free lunch and learn event, and come and learn and have lunch with us. And it was a huge success. They did so well with that because it really got them, it made the person that they were dealing with, hey, this would be a great thing, a fun thing for the employees. It kind of made them look like a hey, they're bringing in different things for us as employees. So it was a fun event for them, and it kind of got them going like, hey, yeah, we're doing an event next month. Why don't we do something in the next 2 weeks? It sped the process up for them. It made it more fun, and it really accelerated the process to get into close the deal with a lot of these companies. So that was something that we did. But again, it's really with us, we try to make it where if something isn't working for the company or they're not seeing the results that they need, even though at some point they have to take responsibility for it, Robert, I still want to work with them and say, look, what could we do to what's happening? Let's try to figure out, is there something that the sales rep is doing? Is it something that could be tweaked a little bit? When you go in there to meet with them, what could be done to make you or help you close more business? So we always want to work with them, even if it's going above and beyond what we would normally do. I like to live by that under promise, over deliver, because that will get you a lot further. We've had companies that have come to us that have said, we need to see a guaranteed number of closed deals within this time frame to, to pay you to make this worth our while. And I tell them off the bat, then this is not going to be a good fit for you. I would never guarantee anything because I don't have a crystal ball. I can't predict the future. And I'm certainly not going to tell you, because if I'm out of the equation at some point and you have to take over, you have to take responsibility for it. And I can't take responsibility for someone else. I can only take responsibility for what we as a company do. And I have to stand behind that. So those are some things that we've done in the past that have really, really helped our clients.
Awesome, and there's some really good, lots of really good layers in that story, and I think that that last part there about how it's almost like, well, there's only so much that you can do, right? Like you're the marketing expert, and you can tell those sales reps what to do and sort of listen to what they're doing and sort of course correct, but then at the end of the day, it's like you can only take over their business so much. And I think that your thought process was pretty interesting to hear there, and it almost sounds like your focus in there is to see, okay, well, what is it they really need, what's the goal, and then what's their sort of process in going in that goal, and then it sounds like you sort of look at each step of the process and say, okay, well, the first problem is that they're not getting a lot of appointments. Okay, and then you did some steps to solve that problem, and then once I got the appointments, and he said, okay, well, now we kind of we're 80% on the way there, but now the problem is that they have appointments, but they're not closing them, and then you kind of come up with a solution for that. And so when you thought of this in this scenario, like this lunch and learn thing, was that something like you reused, or did you come up with that brand new, or how did you think of like an idea like that?
Well, honestly, from years ago, from working in the construction industry of all places, my job in the construction industry, I worked as an executive level assistant. So, I planned a lot of events, and I would have to bring in, especially for continuing education for the people in the construction industry and the real estate side of things for our sales reps, everything from Red Cross trainers, to train them in CPR. We were constantly having to bring in people to teach different things because it was part of the job. The people who worked there, some of them they understood, hey, look, I have to do this. I understand I have to get certified. And some people are like, enough already. I'm over, having to learn about different things for continuing education. So it was my job to try to make it as fun as I could, for everybody. So we would do everything from like I'd make something a picnic, or I'd make something, where we would bring in lunch, have it catered. So I kind of pulled from that idea and said, I even took it one step further and said, why don't you do a gift card raffle? Give away a $50 Visa gift card, which that was within their budget to do. And I'm talking about my client at this point. So I just kind of took some of, again, pulling from my experience from all the different jobs that I had over so many years of, what could we do to make this work for our clients? So it's just a matter of, pulling different ideas. I mean, am I the first one to think of a lunch and learn? Of course not. I mean, there's tons of people that do those. But I really tried to make it where it was something fun and something creative. And like I said, I even took it a step further and went ahead and created a flyer just to show them the idea. Hey, I think if you do this, I think it would make it fun. It's going to speed up and it did everything that I thought it would. So I was very pleased with that.
Awesome, and that kind of comes full circle. How we're talking about how all these past experiences, all these past jobs, all these past projects and things that we all think were just kind of a waste. If we like just go back and have some of that self-reflection, we can go and like pluck things that that were used in some, might even be popular in some other industry, but unheard of in this other industry, and now they think that you're a genius because you thought of this thing that didn't even exist before. And for me, all the time, like if I log into like some other membership site, or I buy some product or anything in like some other completely different industry, I might just take notice that, oh, well, I've never seen it done in that way, or with these colors, or with this button. And there's always some sort of thing to reuse in sort of like a mental swipe file in there, so to speak. And so when you're dealing with these these companies, and you're helping them out and things like that, are you seeing like a universal mistake that they're all making?
I would say one universal mistake I see everybody make is it's in the follow up. They don't do enough follow up. And I'll share a quick story if we have time.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So, a great example, one of the clients that I have, corporate clients, where we help them with their marketing, it took me 2 years of follow up to bring them on board. 2 years. Now, most people would have quit after 6 months or after 8 months, but I continued to follow up with them. And what happened was they actually came to me and they said, look, we're getting ready to start. They were part of a bigger company. They said, look, we're getting ready to start our own business. And they said, we're breaking away. We're going to kind of go and do something a little bit different. And we would love for you to help us with the sales aspect of things, because they were tech people. And they said, we really, they understood that was a weakness of theirs. And they wanted to make sure that they were outsourcing that. And I said, absolutely, I would love to help you. Okay, great. We're thinking in the next 6 months. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to send you some information. And what I'll do is I will follow up with you in let's just say 4 months, and we'll see how things are going. So in 4 months, followed up, had a conversation. And when I say follow up, I'm not talking about me leaving a message. I'm talking about me actually having a conversation with this person. Don't mistake leaving a message as follow up. That's really not follow up. That's part of the process. You might have to dial their number 15 times before you get them on the phone over a 2 to 3 week time period, but you need to make sure that you're consistently following up. In following up, meaning you're making notes on your phone call. So at that point, they said, oh, it's going to be another 3 or 4 months. Follow up with us in 3 or 4 months. So I would continue to follow up. Every time that I saw, general follow-up techniques, anytime, I would connect with them on LinkedIn, I connected with them on Facebook, and anytime I saw something within their industry that I thought they would be interested in, whether it was an event or an article, I would send it over to them with, just an email. Hey, hope everything's going great. Saw this and thought of you. I don't know if you're aware of this event. Looks like, it would be very interesting for you to attend. And I'd hit send, and I'd say nothing about, the project and how are things going, and I would continue to follow up in a timely manner. And I always keep track of our follow up, of how many times we've called, when we called, what happened, did we leave a message, did we talk to them. And sure enough, probably not even, like I said, towards the 2 year mark, I got a call from him. We're ready to get started. Can you start next week on the project? Absolutely. But where I see most people would give up is probably, I don't see most salespeople going past the 6 month mark. But I knew this was going to be a good client. It's still one of the best clients I have today, and we've worked with them long term. But you have to go out there and market your business. So you might as well keep that pipeline full, thinking that someone's not interested. That's your thinking, not theirs. So you need to continue to follow up. I received a phone call the other day from another company that they want to start up, and I started talking to them, I think, a year and a half ago, and things just kind of, oh, well, we're just kind of putting the project on hold. Okay, great. I'll just keep you in mind. Is it okay if I follow up in 6 months? And just continuing to do that, touching that, following up. That, I think, is a universal mistake that all companies make, small, medium, large.
Awesome, and I can completely relate to that. I mean, I think we all have stories about that, and usually the stories are in not following up. But I think about like different people that I've joint ventured with, or people that I've like done webinars with and stuff like that. Usually, I say no the first few times, and some of these people have just worn me down over, like you said, a year, 2 years, 3 years, and a lot of other people have given up after 6 months. And even like I'm not like a cold call person or anything like that, but as far as like building an email list, like I've had people where they joined my list and then it took them 2 years, 3 years to buy their first thing, and it's like, okay, well, that's just part of the process. So I really like that track the follow-ups you do with people, and calling, and if it's just a voicemail, that doesn't count as a touch, but track that anyway, and then keep on doing those touches. And it might take 2 years to get that, and don't give up early. And so cool. So as we're winding this down, one thing that I want to ask you about before talking about all your other websites is, so you mentioned that you have this talk radio show and that it's currently on hiatus. So I mean, what's the deal with that, and when's it coming back?
Yeah, we host on talkzone.com, and we're hoping to have it back up. Probably, the goal is March or April at this point. But typically, the show is an hour long, and we do interview different marketing, social media, public relations experts on the show, where they're offering a variety of different advice. And it is a live show, so people can call in. And then, of course, we do have it recorded where it's on our site. People can go to our website now and listen to some of the past episodes as well. But we've actually, with the magazine, we've kind of, when I started the magazine, I thought we were going to be regional, and that didn't happen. We kind of went to a national format where we have advertisers, and we also have subscribers that are all over the US. So I kind of started out with one goal, and again, life takes over and it has different plans. But we're kind of trying to do the same thing with the show to get it to grow in the same direction as the magazine.
Awesome. So dealing with those challenges and having fun with them, where those non entrepreneurial types would just give up, but then people like you and me, we're the ones that sort of rise to the challenge and say, okay, here's the problem in front of me. I'm going to solve it. So cool stuff. So I mean, good problem to have if you planned on being small, and then this thing kind of took off. And so where can people find the talk show and the magazine?
They can go to strictlymarketingmagazine.com, and everything's on that site,
Awesome.
including our blog.
Perfect. And is that and is there any other place you want people to head to, or is strictly marketingmagazine.com the place to be?
That is the place to be. We have the magazine and the talk radio. Like I said, the past episodes of the talk radio program are listed on there as well. And then, of course, if they have to contact us, they're welcome to fill out the contact us form that we have on the website, and someone would get back with them within 1 to 2 business days.
Awesome, good stuff. So it's strictlymarketingmagazine.com, and I really appreciated having you on the show today, Carrie, just because, like, it's one thing to hear about like the actions or the the ways that people have responded to things, but then I also like to kind of dig a little deeper and also like think about the thought process. So it was really cool just to hear about the way that you solve problems and the way that you like deal with these things and grow your own business. And so thanks for all the cool stories and insights and takeaways, and thanks for being on the show, Carrie.
Thank you as well, Robert. It's my pleasure and such an honor to be here with you today as well.
Right back at you. Subscribe to us right now while it's still fresh on your mind at robertplank.com/iTunes, or just search Robert Plank in your iTunes app.